A bill was introduced recently in the US Congress to help to determine the future of Puerto Rico. But is it everything that it's being made out to be? Is it as unbiased as we would be led to believe? Well, perhaps we're gonna find out. I'm not an expert on this area, so we decided we would bring one on. The mayor of San Juan, Yulín Cruz, joins us now. Yulín, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you both. For an important topic, I think it's important to begin saying, no, it is not everything that is cracked out to be. When you say it was recently introduced, it was last Friday. The bill was not translated into Spanish. So when there was a listening session in Puerto Rico, the bill was not translated. And we have to understand that in Puerto Rico, most people speak Spanish and English is taught as a second language. So English is not the first language that people would speak, number one. And the other thing is that Puerto Rico has been a colony twice. Once a colony of Spain, and in 1898, it became a colony of the United States after the Spanish-American War. In 1917, a legislation was put into place to make Puerto Ricans US citizens at that time. So everyone that was in Puerto Rico at the time was made a US citizens. And in 1941, birth citizenship was granted to Puerto Ricans. And why do I say that? Because that is one of the points of ample discussion. But this process is undemocratic. It's actually, some would say, un-American, because right now, people in Congress have until 3 o'clock on today, as we speak, in about an hour, to introduce any legislation that they would want to introduce. And then council decides if they're going to say yes, no, and if it's gonna go. But one of the things that is really wrong, one, it's not translated into Spanish, so many Puerto Ricans cannot understand it. Two, it is tilted and stacked towards statehood. Now, I understand that most Americans may think, well, Puerto Ricans were treated very badly when Donald Trump was president, and 3,000 Puerto Ricans died because he was ineffective and a bad president, right? More than 1 million died under his watch because of COVID. The same thing. It was the same scenario with different numbers, with the same attitude, dismissive attitude on President Trump's part. But now the Democratic Congress that we would think would be open for all options to be on the table at the same time with equal value is stacking the deck towards statehood. And I'll give you 3 examples from a letter that I sent to Congressman Steny Hoyer. One is people that believe in statehood in Puerto Rico say that Puerto Rico, being a state, will continue to have its own Olympic team. Now, can you imagine Texas, New York, Ohio, Arizona saying, no, we're gonna have our own Olympic team? So according to those that are proponents of statehood in Puerto Rico, there's gonna be Team USA and Team Puerto Rico, even though Puerto Rico's a state. We know that's false. Number 2, English and Spanish. Well, I'm blessed that my parents thought, no, we're gonna use our money, our hardworking earned money, to put her in a school that will teach her English. But most people in Puerto Rico are not fully bilingual. They may be able to speak and understand, but not fully bilingual. In Puerto Rico, in the school system, public school system, we teach English as a second language. So the question is, will now the government of the United States accept that Puerto Ricans continue to do all the taxes in Spanish and everything that goes in our courts in Spanish, and that English will be taught as a second language? Of course, the answer is no. And then number 3 is the issue of the US citizenship. Under free association and independence, which are the other 2 non-colonial, non-territorial options, the issue of citizenship is very important. Puerto Ricans, for the most, 90-95% of Puerto Ricans value their US citizenship. And actually, there's 5 million Puerto Ricans in the US and 3.2 in Puerto Rico right now. So the diaspora is larger than the number of people that live in Puerto Rico. Now, right now, what happens is that my daughter, who was born in the United States, could run for president. I was born in Puerto Rico. I could not run for president. I don't want to ever run for president, but that But that gives you the difference, right, between the citizenships. Now, that doesn't mean mine is a second-class citizenship. It just means there is a difference. Now, if my daughter today gives birth in Spain, she's a US citizen. She just goes to the embassy and she registers my grandchild, which I hope I don't have for many years to come. And that's it. There's no problem. But what they're now saying in the bill is that under free association, you need two parents, not one, as the law says right now, two parents to have their US citizenship in order to transmit birthright citizenship. So one of the amendments, that's unconstitutional, by the way. And the reason we know that is Ted Cruz. Oh my God, I hate to use Ted Cruz as an example of anything that is right, because he is not right. But Ted Cruz was born in Canada. He was not born in the US. His mother is a US citizen. So because his mother is a US citizen, he had citizenship at birth. So that should not be different for Puerto Ricans. It should be exactly the same. That citizenship should be transmitted by one parent, not by two parents. And the other thing that happens under independence is that this bill says if Puerto Rico is independent, the Constitution of Puerto Rico would have to have A, B, C, and D. Just imagine England telling the founding fathers that the new Constitution of the United States had to have A, B, and C. If a country decides to be independent, that's their right. So whatever constitution comes along should be a constitution that they describe and they decide. So when you look at
the definition of the word independent. If it's independent, but under very specific circumstances that we decide, but not you.
You're independent as long as you do what I tell you, and then that doesn't jive. So the great difference here is, why is Congress stacking the deck towards statehood? It doesn't require a supermajority. It just requires the simple majority of those that vote. And it also does not allow for people to vote, in a different, have a space, a different column where they say, no, I want this other. I want to be associated with Spain again, and so forth. So it disenfranchises a group of Puerto Ricans. Do we want colonialism to end? Yes, but we want to make sure that is a fair process for all parties involved.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, they're stacking the deck here. It is not simply that they're saying you have to choose one of these things, but it's up to you. We put that to the voters. They are, in fact, they're putting money into educating people in like they would say, educating people in Puerto Rico about these options, correct? And I assume that's probably not totally unbiased education.
Well, if the education says what the bill says, which is what when you look at the language of the bill, says the educational process is going to be what the bill is written, then it's not going to tell you that in statehood you're going to pay federal taxes. It's not going to tell you that in statehood you're going to speak English. It's not going to tell you that in statehood you're not going to have an Olympic team, right?
Yeah.
And that is important for people in Puerto Rico because of our identity. Puerto Rico, we feel like Puerto Rican nationals. Even people that believe in statehood say, no, I'm a Puerto Rican national, but I want to be part of the United States because I want my citizenship to be equal. That's what people that believe in statehood said. There's a real important thing here. There is only one Republican person that is a co-sponsor of this legislation, and it is the current resident commissioner, Jennifer Gonzalez. John, do you remember that GIF that's running around where President Trump was throwing paper towels at the people of Puerto Rico? You know who was standing next to him? The resident commissioner, Jennifer Gonzalez. She is the one that was a co-president of Latinos for Trump. She's also the one that wrote that famous letter to President Trump saying, oh, by the way, I agree with the wall. Yes, let's build the wall. Jennifer Gonzalez was saying that. But don't take money from Puerto Rico to build the wall. Take money from somewhere else to build the wall. So Democrats are giving and are jumping in cahoots with somebody that represents the worst of what the Republican Party has ever put through. So what is important? Colonization has to end. It is a crime against humanity. It is something that gets Puerto Ricans away from doing what we're supposed to do. We were not able to buy generators and lampposts from countries that the US buys them after Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Ergo, people died. Do we have a relationship that should continue? Of course. We have a very good relationship. I often say I love so much the principles by which this country was founded that I want them for my own country, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So if we are all endowed by our Creator, I'm sure the founding fathers did not think that only people that were now born in the 13 colonies were endowed by their Creator. So what we want is a democratic process. What Congress is putting forth is an anti-democratic process that stacks the deck towards one option and does not allow the people of Puerto Rico to exercise their freedom. Because in essence, you are free when you can vote for the truth that is put in front of you. But if that truth is kept from you, then you're not really exercising that freedom.
Well, I can't thank you enough for joining us to explain this. I think, there's not a lot of Americans that on a daily basis think about the status. And to the extent that they do, they probably believe that they know either what is right or what they think the people of Puerto Rico want. It is obviously very complex. And it seems like this bill is not necessarily going to make that any simpler or any more reflective of what the people there actually want. So we will definitely be following that. But I want to thank you again for joining us and breaking it down so well.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. And so that was awesome. It makes me feel like we're back in pre-pandemic days that we can actually have guests join us live on the show. But thank you again for that.
No, thank you for having us. The bill was introduced Friday. It goes for markup tomorrow.
Okay, we'll be following. Yeah. So
there's not when we're trying to introduce amendments, they tell us, well, we don't have enough time. Well, no, Sherlock. That's why you should have taken a lot more time for this. One other thing, John, there's another bill that goes to markup tomorrow. It is to make sure that a house in a particular park becomes part of the national park systems. And that bill had hearings.
Oh, so they can do hearings for some things when they want to. Interesting.
So they can do hearings for parks, but not hearings for decolonization.
Exactly. Convenient.
Go figure.
Convenient.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much
very
again.
Much.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.